Why is it that the warrior's flaws aren't talked about enough, and the real positives are ignored? Well, in this second stage of the hero's journey, check out the first stage if you missed it, I'll look at Carl Jung's most misunderstood archetype, looking at the positives, the shadow side, and what we get wrong. As the hero goes on a journey spanning from one inexperienced point of view into a more refined and mature perspective, it's universally applicable to our lives, and you're bound to find out which qualities you also hold, and whether it's the productive or unproductive attributes. We'll have a look at fictional characters who embody the warrior's qualities, considering from a psychological lens the choices that define them. So with that out the way, let's look at the warrior. The warrior is the middle ground of the hero's journey, when the hero accepts his destiny and follows his own path. Controlling emotions is what a warrior does best, being able to restrain themselves if an enemy attacks them. It's this restraint that gives them control of the situation. Without control, they'll lash out and be spiteful. The warrior also needs patience. What the warrior understands about patience is that it means not being reactive, but instead allowing time to make the right decision. Without patience, you'll make decisions out of anger. In the case of an enemy attacking them, if they were to be angry, it means that their opponent already has the emotional advantage. As the writer Robert Greene says, the more attention you pay to an enemy, the stronger you make them, so you must deny them the satisfaction of recognition. Doing this shows that you understand the paradox of attention, in that the more you chase after something, the more it slips past you. Restraining your emotions after being slighted is easier said than done, and it's a huge challenge for us unless we have the warrior's 4 other attributes. These are discipline, forbearance, timing, and will. Singling out forbearance, Castaneda defines it as waiting patiently. No rush, no anxiety, a simple joyful holding back of what is due. The true warrior doesn't waste energy wishing for things to be another way, which allows him to conserve energy and give a proportionate response required for the situation at hand. But this can result in a lack of compassion, and it's the shadow side of the warrior who's prone to blocking too many emotions. One emotion, which will not be contained, is anger. If you put off dealing with emotions, you're likely to cultivate this temperament and deliver outbursts of anger at people when your tolerance runs out. If you're prone to this, remember what Marcus Aurelius once said: the best answer to anger is silence. The way the warrior escapes this shadow side is by having a less absolute view of emotions. Showing emotion is not always a form of weakness. You don't want to be a cold and calculated robot, unable to provide any emotional support to others. This is when the warrior must be patient and receptive, and not feel as if listening to them is a waste of their precious time. It is this which keeps the anger and resentment of the shadow side at bay, and helps them to maintain the positive qualities, keeping the shadow in front of them and the light at their back. If you choose to ignore your emotional responsibilities, you'll also feel compelled to reject any assistance from others, as to you this will signify weakness. This is the trap of the warrior, that other people's emotions are baggage, hindrances to your own goals, and through this framing you feel as if you should struggle alone instead of asking for help. The hero's defining moment. The defining moment when a hero becomes a warrior is when they stop running away and accept their destiny. This running away trope appears in Simba's initiation in The Lion King, when Simba begins to doubt his character after blaming himself for his father's death. Instead of working through his shame, Simba chooses to run away from it, both metaphorically and literally, which results in him denying his destiny of being king, choosing to live in eternal relaxation with his new friends Timon and Pumbaa. Then, Rafiki, a mandrill, finds Simba on his own, lost and confused about who he is and his purpose. Simba's skeptical of Rafiki until he reveals that he knows of his late father, Mufasa. With his curiosity spiked, Simba follows the mandrill and finds himself at a pool of water, a symbol of the depths of the unconscious, which Rafiki instructs him to look into. At first, Simba just sees himself. However, after looking harder, his reflection takes the face of his deceased father, who subsequently transforms into a cosmic entity in the clouds. This is all Simba needs to believe in the potential of the man that he can be, proving to him that it's possible to live up to his father's expectations and legacy. The lesson from this is that it's never better to run away from your problems, as you may end up coming face to face with them when you're not living up to your potential. So it's as if when he accepts his destiny, the true test begins, and he must now confront the dark shadow of the warrior to prove himself. A common trope of the hero's enemy is that they are a shadow version of themselves, bearing similarities to their darker attributes, but the difference being in the choices that they choose to make. This likeness is usually a difficult reality to accept for the hero, but eventually they realise that they, like their enemy, have to become chaos in order to bring about the new world order, one that is more virtuous than what came before. The warrior's chaos mindset can allow them to create a new and improved world from the rubble. As the German writer Johann Wolfgang von Goethe puts it, we must always change, renew, rejuvenate ourselves, otherwise we harden. To achieve this warrior status in our own lives, we must be energetic, decisive, calm under pressure, courageous, enduring, preserving, patient, and loyal to a greater good. Being loyal to a cause greater than themselves is arguably the strongest link that the warrior has to the fully established hero, as there's no bigger sacrifice than to willingly die in the service of a higher power. This dutiful sacrifice brings everything into perspective. In the words of the author Carlos Castaneda, death is the only advisor that we have. It will tell you that you're wrong. This sentiment's also shared by Jung, who observed that in our cluttered lives we need the coldness of death to see clearly. In Jung's words, joy at the smallest things comes to you only when you've accepted death. The warrior walks side by side with death as his eternal companion, leading him to an outpouring of life force, making him more capable than the average person is. By regularly and voluntarily exposing themselves to dangerous situations and coming out of them alive, they become stronger than they were before, refusing to let their fear of danger and unsafe circumstances hold them back, and so they use their fears to push them onwards. It's this distinction that sets them apart from the naive hero who pretends that their fears don't exist or don't affect them. You can see this naivety displayed here.
I'm not afraid.
You will be.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when we'll discuss the fully realised form of the hero, the king.